Thank you.
Okay. So why we create a network, a specified network for each cloud provider? That is only for keeping our resources safely. Okay. So whenever we create a AWS account, there is a default VPC there. Not only the VPC. VPC have some other components like VPC, subnet, routable intergateway, and so similar services are there related to VPC. And there is a default VPC in AWS account. You can check in your go to the service and select VPC or type VPC in your account, and you can see there is a default VPC there. But when you are working with the production environment or a best practice, we keep our own VPC to keep our resources like virtual machine or any resources that we are working in cloud, AWS cloud, we are hold that service under our network. That is our VPC. See, this is the dashboard, and we can search it here. VPC. See, in my account, there are three VPC. Okay, I created three VPC here. These are the VPC. This is my default VPC. Okay, and these two are created by me. So the definition of VPC, it's a isolated environment. Okay, consider it's a isolated environment that we created in AWS for keeping our resources. And most probably our VPC is private actually by default. As per our requirement, we need to make it as public. So consider this is our AWS account. Okay, consider. So what we are going to do is to create a service VPC. So consider this is our VPC. We created a VPC. It's a how we can uh, connect with the real world scenario. For example, consider this is our home. Okay, where we I mean this is our home, and in our home we have different rooms, right? Each rooms we keep different things like bed, almaras, or the dressing table. So many things we keep in different rooms, right? So similar way, we create a VPC, okay, and create another components, okay, like the name is subnet. This is the VPC, and again we created subnet inside our VPC. Subnet is actually uh, how can we say like in one word, like for example, subnet is actually a ranges of
IP address.
yes, ranges of IP address. address. Okay. What is ranges of IP address? That is, I will explain with some example. Okay, because most of them are new to these things. Like, I mean, these technical words. Mm, okay, I will explain with the IP and the IP ranges. Okay, so yeah, similar way we have three rooms. Consider we have three rooms, so we will create three subnet. Okay, this is example with the real world. Three subnet. These three subnets are isolated. Okay, and we keep our resources inside the subnet. Like inside the room, we keep our bed and almara like that. So here we keep our virtual machines, right? Or any other services like mm, some application, or we can consider any services that under the AWS account we can keep in different subnet. Most probably we are keep deploying virtual machines in subnet. Okay. For example, we have a application. Okay. The requirement is deploy a application. Simple scenario. Deploying an application. That's a requirement. So what we will do? We need to create a VPC. VPC in the sense of a dedicated VPC. We created a dedicated VPC. Instead of we are uh, going with the default, we create a dedicated VPC for the application. So first we create a dedicated VPC. This is our VPC. Then we need to deploy the machine, right? We can't directly deploy our machine to the VPC. So another component is subnet. So under the VPC, we create subnet. Okay. As per the requirement, we can deploy as much subnet. For a single scenario like deploying application, we need only one subnet. Okay. So under the VPC, we create a subnet, and inside subnet, we can directly deploy a virtual machine. So this virtual machine under the corresponding subnet, and we can log into the machine and deploying application or installing a web server, do those things. Okay. Before going to deep into the subnet and other components, we need to uh, complete the IP and IP ranges. Okay. Consider, okay, just leave the subnet. Okay. Now we are on the VPC. So when we creating VPC, there is two things we need to provide. One is the VPC name. Okay. The next thing is, anyone know?
Address.
Yes.
Range of IP addresses.
Your IP addresses.
Yeah, IP address. Because coming to the same scenario, like this is a home, right? So the home have address. Like for example, someone need to send some courier or anything. The courier should come this address, right? So similar way, when we creating a VPC, we need to provide a name and IP address. So the IP address, we can choose the default range IP address. Okay. So consider we uh, allocated 100 IP. Okay. When we are assigning a IP address for a VPC, that means we actually allocated some IP address and some IPs to the VPC. Okay. For example, I am providing some IP like 10.0.0.0, and the subnet is, we need to provide a subnet. Okay. Subnet means, I will explain subnet and everything. Provide some subnet like 16 or 24, anything as per the requirement. So what are things we mentioned in the subnet? So the under the subnet there is some, sorry, not subnet, net mask. Under the net mask there is some allocated IPs. Okay, it's actually uh, we can say we allocated 100 IP to the VPC. Consider 100 IP. Okay. So the VPC have one name and one IP, and it's hold 100 IP. So coming to next component, creating subnet. I am going to create a subnet. Okay. So my requirement is to create a two subnet. Okay. My requirement is to create a two subnet and divide the IPs. In my VPC, only 100 IP, right? So I need how I need to divide. First, I my requirement is I need to create two subnet also. So first I will allocate 50 IP to this subnet. So here minus 50. So the VPC have only 50 IP, okay, remaining. Again, I create another subnet. I will allocate that 50 to this machine. So now it's completed. You got the scenario.
Yes.
Range of 50 IP address, or
Yeah, ranges
are
of
you
50
telling?
address. That means
Okay.
for a single subnet can hold 50 machines
Okay.
because we have different 50 address. That is called the ranges of IP. So this
Okay.
subnet have like 0 to 50 ranges of IP. Actually, we segregating these IPs using subnet. That's a single word. Why we are segregating? We keep uh, keep something in this specified space. That is called subnet.
For giving unique IP address to each computer, right?
Yes. Similar way, coming to a real world scenario, I will explain. This is considered. This is a college lab. Okay, our CS lab or any CAD lab. So the lab have different PCs, right? Consider there is 10 PC. Okay. So each PC is connected to internet, right? Consider the lab have internet and each PC is be connecting. First we need to connect to the switch. Then switch is also connected with the modem, right? So the each PCs have internet. These PCs have IP, right? Otherwise, how they communicate with the switch and getting IP and all things. These machines have private IPs. Each machine have private IPs. Similar way, here we are creating same thing. We need to deploy different machines, right? Coming to production environment, there is lot of machines like thousands machines, 100 machines, 500 machines like that. So each machine we need to provide IPs. Here we provide private IPs. Okay. For internal communication, we need to provide private IPs. For external communication, we need to provide public IPs as well. External communication and
Okay.
internal communication means internal communication inside the VPC. For only the specified machines needs to talk internally, then we only provide a internal, I mean, private IP. By default, there is a private IP. We didn't bother about the private IP. But some scenario, for example, this subnet three machines. Okay, so these three machines we need to connect externally. Like for example, a remote user, you and me or anyone remotely access these machines. So we need to provide public IP for this machine. And
A
yes,
remotely access means outside the firewall of that company. Is it like that?
remotely means someone, for example, you created a AWS account and you deploy a virtual machine. Okay, you install or you configure a virtual machine. So how you connect that machine
Yeah,
directly?
that is remote. Yeah, remote connection.
Yes, different way we can connect. I mean, using different way we can connect the machine. The
Hmm.
simplest way is we can directly log in the AWS account and choose the machine. And there is a option like connect the machine. So we can easily connect with the machine using a internet browser shell. Okay. So it's open an internet browser shell and we can communicate the machine. Then purely remotely, we can connect using putty, some tools like putty or command line or PowerShell. We can provide the IP of the machine and the password. We can directly connect with our this local machine to the cloud machine. Most probably, as a DevOps engineer, we are working with the Visual Studio Code or anything other PowerShell, putty like tools.
Like I have developed one code in my computer, and I'm working with Walmart,
Mm.
and I want to deploy my code into the Walmart domain. So is it like remotely I need to do? Is it an example? Because
Yes,
both in
yes, yes. We need to log into the machine remotely, or they mostly for that company they will give some other computers. I mean, for using Gem. So first
Mhm.
we will log into their Gem server. Then from Gem server we need to access that machine.
And that machine might be with the Walmart their own server or Amazon as it cloud. So Amazon will rent them, or like they will have their own server, or it will both scenario.
Yeah, both scenario we can use. The old scenario we already discussed, right? For example, the Walmart
Right.
company have their own
Yeah,
server.
yeah. That part I got it. But we are discussing about cloud. So in this case, it will be renting, right? Amazon will be
Yes,
maintaining the servers and all.
yes, yes,
Okay.
yes. They are
Okay.
renting actually. Yeah. If the PC belongs to AWS or any cloud provider. Got it?
Right. Go. I'm good.
Okay, then yes. So now you got idea, all of you. What is a subnet?
Yes.
Yeah.
What about others?
Yeah, we got it.
Yeah.
So we will okay. So consider we are going to create a VPC, then creating two subnet, subnet 1 and subnet 2. Leave the subnet. And one more, two, not two actually. We need to create a tuple. Yeah, two other components, commonly used components are there in the VPC when creating VPC. I told you that VPC by default a private isolated thing. Okay, so coming to private means there is no communication outside from the VPC. Outside means to the internet. This is considered this is internet. Okay, so there is no connection to internet or any other, no connection externally. That's all by default when we creating a VPC. Okay, so like we have coming to our real scenario, we have a room.
So
Okay, we have a
uh,
room. Yeah.
what? if there is no connection of internet, so I don't need internet to remotely access the VPC of the company to deploy my application. Is it like that?
No, you need to connect to the machines. So that machine is in public actually. Otherwise,
Oh,
how you connect to the remote machine?
so what's the use then? I mean, how it's justified? Like as you said, VPC is private. We don't need internet. But
No,
again,
no, 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 no. My requirement, I mean, I am saying like that when we creating a VPC, it's default, it's private.
right.
Like, for example, this is our room, okay? This is our home, and this is a living area, and so many people are here, but there is no Wi-Fi connection in our room. So all the machines or the mobile phones of the users doesn't connect to internet. So what will we do? We need to buy a internet connection, right? And place in our home. Okay. And it's connected to the Wi-Fi any adapter. So inside the home there is internet connection. So all the users can access the internet using the Wi-Fi. Similar way when we creating VPC, by default there is no internet connection. So what will you do? We need to create another component, or we need to configure another component called internet gateway.
Okay.
Internet gateway and attach to corresponding VPC. In our case, the newly VPC is our VPC. So we can attach the internet gateway to the VPC. So we can say our VPC is not private, it's public.
Okay.
Got it?
So always it should be public. Means in which
Yeah.
scenario
Yes,
it
yes,
is
yes, yes.
private? Always it should be public, right?
Yes. Otherwise, how can we connect with our machines?
Right.
Yeah. And yeah, some scenario, coming to real world scenario, we our application, okay. For example, we have a application. We have an application, okay. This is our application front end, okay. And this is the back end. Back end, here we can say back end is a database. This is a DB. And this is front end, okay. Front end application like, yeah, any front end application, front end. So we deploy the front end code to a virtual machine, right? And we need to expose the front end to the public. So these machines should be public, right? And coming to database, the database coming to another VPC. Most probably we are not deploying, I mean, configure the database to a single machine. That's why we called front end and back end. So the DB must be, most probably we keeping databases or confidential things under a, I mean, keeping private. Okay. So any malicious attack outside our organization or any person who is attacking, I mean, the hackers are getting data from our database. That's why we are keeping our database private. So there is no direct connection to our database, or no one can access our database because this machine's under private. Private in the sense of what? What is private and public? Private means,
Public.
yeah, private means this machine only have private IP, no public IP. For this machine have two IP. One is public and private. Otherwise, how can the users are accessing the machine? They need a public IP, right? Public
Right.
IP in the sense of we need to add the public IP to a domain like abc.com or google.com. So the resolution happening behind the IP address. Okay. So yeah, this is our subnet.
Pri- Private is intranet, right? And public is like internet, via
Yes,
internet.
yes, right, right, right,
Everyone.
right. The same scenario. I mean, coming to the Collide lab, these machines have public private IPs. Okay, each machine. So this is called a intranet. We create a LAN. Yeah, coming to our scenario, we have two subnet. So our requirement is to deploy a two-tier application like a front end and a database. So how we keep the machine private and how we keep this machine public? Any idea? Coming to VPC and AWS. There is the use of subnet. We can make now we make our VPC public. Okay. If we make our VPC public using attaching the internet gateway, it does not, we can say our all the other components inside the VPC have public or public connection. Still the machines are, still the subnet are private. But our VPC have internet connection, but these both subnet are in private. Okay. So what we'll do, we need to make the subnet public as per the requirement. So in our case, the requirement is deploying two machine, and for one machine, for the first machine, we need to deploy front-end application, and we need to expose the application to public. I mean to the users. So we will create a virtual machine and keep the virtual machine in the first subnet. Okay. And what we'll do is this machine for front end. Okay. So, and creating another virtual machine in subnet 2, that is for database. And here we make the machines public or private. That how we make that thing is to configure the subnet. So coming to VPC component, there is in VPC there is some other components like first one is subnet and internal gateway. We already connected the internal gateway to the VPC. Then the next thing is route table. What is a route table?
It's a set of rules will be defined for the IPs, how it will be routed to the different.
Yes, yes, yes. Route table. It's considered it's a table, and the table inside the table we create some rules. Okay. For example, yes. Actually, in route table we configure the traffic. Okay. So, for example, in our home, okay, in our home there is three rooms. Consider our home have three rooms, and some guests are entering to our room, our home, and we specify some rule. If there is three guests are there, okay, I mean they are in queue in our home, outside our home. So we have set some rules like so some specified guests are directly connect to the, I mean comes to the some specific room. Okay, that's the rule actually. So similar way we need to create some rules in our uh, route table. So mostly what we are configuring there is internal traffics. So some connections from this side must go to the corresponding IPs or splice. So all things we created, I mean configure in the route table. And in this case, we have two subnet. Okay. So similar way we need to create two route table. Again, I am creating another route table. This is my another route table. Okay. So as of now, these two subnets are in private. Okay. So we will create two root table, and after creating root table, we need to associate that root table to a specific subnet. So the association means what are the things or what are the configuration that we define in each root table is associated. Actually, it's associated with the corresponding subnet. So it affects to the subnet. For example, in this root table, I am defined that this root table have internal connection, and I am going to attach the root table with the front end subnet. Okay, not the front end, the mission. The front end mission is keeping this subnet. Okay, like subnet, we can name it a subnet. Name like public subnet. Okay, and I am attaching this root table. That this root table configuration is the root table have internal connection. So I am attaching the root table to the public subnet. So we can say this subnet have internal connection, and the machines that belongs inside the subnet, all the machines have internal connection. Got it? And similar way, I am creating another root table and defining this root table does not I mean doesn't have any internal connection. No internal connection. That's a rule we define to this root table. No internet connection. And attaching to the corresponding subnet. So these subnets keep us private. There is no internal connection hitting to this subnet, and the what are things inside the subnet doesn't have the internal connection. So we created a database, and yeah, do the configuration for accessing the application. Okay, any doubt? This is a high level scenario. When we go through the lab, you will get more idea.
No doubt.
What about others?
As of now,
It
okay.
too, sir. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's fine.
All of you.
Fine.
Okay. Then these are the things for creating a data.
What's the use of making DB as private? Any
Sorry.
scenario like why to make DB as private under private subnet?
Only you want authorized users to be able to access DB.
Right, right.
Yeah, that's the answer. These are our resources. Okay. This is subnet. This is another subnet. Okay. So I am creating a virtual machine. This is for front end. This is a VM and the application for the front end here. Okay. Application. So this is a VM. Okay. This is a VM. This VM and this is a subnet. So the subnet have internal connection. Internal connection. And the machines also have internal connection. Okay. This VM have internal connection. And a public IP. Public IP. So anyone, this is under a VPC. So anyone remotely, across the globe, they can access this application. Like this application IP is 192 anything, and we resolve the IP with some domain name. Okay, so the domain name must be like abc.com or anything. So anyone can type abc.com. It will go. The connection is go through the DNS, and after it's pointing to the machine. This machine. Okay, using the IP of the machine. Got it. So this is a domain name abc.com. We can easily getting this domain names IPs. So anyone can getting the IP address of our machine. Okay. So the hackers can easily attacking this machine. using the IP address. Like they have their own tools like checking the ports or any open ports there. They can accessing our application using methods. Okay, some methods. So similar way, just think of similar way our database. This is subnet, private subnet, and our application. Sorry, the database. This is a virtual machine. Inside the machine, we configure the database DB, and we provide a public IP to this machine also. This is concept. This is not private. This is public as well. Okay. So this DB has public IP. So coming to the hacker perspective, they can easily, I mean, using the IP, they can scanning the machine and any vulnerability there, they can easily go through the vulnerability and they can access our database. So coming to some database, for example, you are working in MNC like Apple or Google. So inside the user database, there is a lot of data, right? They can steal our data. If the database is for any inventory or some confidential customer data or uh, like credit card data, most probably database contains the data, right? So all the things will steal by the hacker. How? When we make the machine public. So the first scenario is how to avoid the scenario is make this database as private and the subnet also. Okay. So we ensure that when we keeping some credential or some confidential resources like database or any other some other machines we for keeping some credentials on. Okay. So similar like that, we need to make that entire system like the subnet and the virtual machines, all the things we keep as private. And we have to create a internal communication. Okay, for example, so this application, okay, when some users accessing our front end application and they are there's some form. Okay, the form is for the name, the things they fill. So all the things saved to this machine. There is an internal communication we need to configure for accessing these two machines. This is purely private connection. The external users can't access go through this way. They're only hitting this machine and viewing the thing and entering the data or anything like that. Or some other uses. This is for form, like simple example. Now another example like they are reading some data, okay, some exposed data through the database. So what will happen is the users accessing the application and they are seeing some dashboard or some data from this database. Here there is a connection between these two machines, like a API call or anything like that. Now you got the idea, right? Why we keeping the database private?
Yeah, so in that scenario, so s- uh, the users, the administrator who has access, they can only access it, or they will be able to access via remote, right? Remote only,
For accessing the database, right?
right?
For example, yeah, that's a question. For example, we need to manage the database, right? There is no connection as well. So what will we do is we need to create a gem server. Gem server in the sense of we create this subnet, okay, the public subnet, we need to create another machine and keep the machine as gem server. Gem server in sense of some database administrator, okay, in our company, some database administrator or some other. For example, this machine needs to patching, regular patching, okay. This is consider this is a Linux machine. So many things are there. So the database needs to update the latest database package or so many things are there. So for that perspective, what we'll do is we coming to real world scenario, there is some gem servers there. So first the user User means the employee, okay? The one who manage these things. First, they log into the gem server. This is a machine. And from this machine, then they log in from this machine to this machine. There is a connection we configure for this connection. So they can access the machine and do the things. Got it?
Yes.
And this is
What
one
is
of
this gen server or gem?
gem server means for jumping access. Like first we access to this machine, then jumping this machine to this machine. Mostly this is a dummy machine, and this machine is in under our same network. That's we are saying this is a gem server.
Okay.
Got it. There is no direct connection from the remote user to the database. If you configure for the same scenario for accessing the DB, first we need to access this machine and then this machine. From accessing this machine, we need to get the credential of this machine, and from this machine to this machine, we need to we have the credential to access this machine. Got it. So consider first we opening this room and we need to collect the key, and then using that key, we need to access that next room. Got it.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. Yeah, we have Gem Server Lab, then another service like NAT Gateway. Similar way we need to use for accessing the private things. So we have the labs, okay? When we are going to the lab, you have the hands-on experience.
Okay. Got this scenario.
Okay, give me a second. My laptop is going to down. I will plug it out.
I had one question.
Hello, Amal.
Yeah, hi. The authentication is done with like things like Kerberos tickets and public and private keys. So where are they kept for you to go from um, into the private network?
You mean the keys, right? Mission key.
Keys, yeah, or like Kerberos tickets or whatever they have for
Yes,
like authentication.
keeping the gem machine, this machine.
Okay, they inside the jump machine.
Yes.
Okay.
That's why I told the keys, right? I mean,
Yeah. Okay, I see. Yeah.
for
Yeah.
accessing this machine, the key must be in the local machine. I mean, the remote machine.
Okay.
So from here to there, the key must be here, the gem server.
Okay.
So
Thank you.
quickly we can go to create a VPC, right? Is any problem that we will take another 30 minutes, all of you?
No, no.
Okay.
No problem.
No problem. Yeah.
So coming to my VPC, there is 3 VPC here. So what we'll do is leave all the things, create a VPC from scratch. So how we accessing the VPC console? Just log into our dashboard, and then here we can type VPC. So see here left side under the VPC virtual private cloud, there are some components there. We are mostly using some common components like subnet, route table, inter gateway, then elastic IP, NAT gateway, peering connection. These are the common things we are using. And the other things are as per the requirement we need to configure. So I'm creating a VPC, for example, given some name like here. See, this is a VPC settings page, create VPC. So I'm choosing VPC only, okay, instead of VPC and more. So give it a name like Guru School. So I'm choosing IPv4, okay. So we can choose IPv4 CADR manual input. So here we can IPv4 CADR we need to provide. That is the IP of the VPC. So two things we need to provide when creating VPC. One is the name and the second one is IP. So I am providing some common IPs like 10.0.0.0. And we need to provide a net mask, okay. Net mask I'm providing which one 60 is fine. So what is net mask? I told you the ranges, right? This is
Right.
IP of the machine, and after the forward slash, then we specify this thing is called net mask of the IP. The net mask is in my case I am providing net mask 16. That means the 16 have some ranges of IP. So whenever I creating the VPC, the VPC have that much IP ranges. How to calculate the net mask? Give me a second. I will open one. Yes, there is some tools are there. Okay, to checking the, for example, you are creating a VPC, so you don't know how to provide the IPs and the net mask. Okay, so mostly as per the requirement we need to provide. Okay, for example, when you are joining any organization, the scenario, most probably the higher level manager or the lead will provide the details to create these things, or else we need to provide as per our requirement. When we need to study the project and we need to assign the IP ranges. For my case, I'm providing this series like this IP ranges and the netmask is 16. But I don't know how many IPs are there in this netmask. So we can go through the subnet calculator and type the same IPs there. Okay, 10.0.0.0. And here, see, the netmask is starting with the 1 to 32 actually. Okay, see, forward slash 1 and end with the 32. Okay, so I am provided like 16, right? So I can see here, see, this hold 65,536 IP ranges. That means this much IP ranges inside my VPC. See, I am creating a VPC, and this VPC hold 65,000 65,536 IP ranges. Okay. So this much IP we can allocate under the VPC. So coming to creating another, I am creating one subnet. Okay. So another subnet. So I can divide these IP ranges to specified subnet. How to allocate the IP ranges to the specific subnet? Any idea? Because in my case, this is my IP ranges, okay, for my VPC. So my question is how to allocate the IP ranges for the specified subnet. Consider I have only two subnet or three subnets. So I need to divide the IP ranges to the corresponding subnet as per the requirement. We didn't allocate all the IP ranges to the specific subnet. As per the requirement, we need to allocate the IP ranges. The requirement means, for example, the first subnet should only keep three machines. Okay, so we don't need the 65,000 of IP to this subnet, right? Because this machine only three machines. For this machine, we will hold 100 machines. Like that, as per the requirement, we need to provide the IP range. So how to allocate the IP ranges? Say similar way. When we creating subnet, we can provide the IP and the net mask there. Got it? So I will go through the lab. Okay, I will. Yeah, these are fine. We can leave it as default. Okay, then create VPC.
So there are
Sub
32
why
bits.
how to calculate that 16 you calculated
16, most probably we are going with the 16. We can, but we can here see any net mask we can choose. For example, my I need only 25 or 40, this much IP only getting, but we can choose any subnet mask from this list. This
So
is
the
actually,
number that's after the slash, that is how many bits you
yes,
can change.
yes,
And the front. So any IP address will have 32 bits. Okay, so if you put like 32 as the subnet mask, then you can only have one thing left. If you can only change the last bit, like say /1, then you will have the maximum number of choices, right?
see, yes, yes.
So the number that's after the slash shows how many you
How
have
many
covered.
IPs are under the,
Yeah.
yeah.
So 16 means 16 IPs we can change.
No, it's 16 bits. The last 16 bits out of the 32 bits you can
Okay.
change.
Okay.
So that will have the 2 to the 16th power of number of addresses will be there.
Okay.
And the
Got
first 16 bits are decided, but then the last 16 bits you can change.
okay.
Yeah.
I know these things for a while and then I forget after a while.
It's
But
like
a lot of
that.
these tools, they do that for you.
Okay.
See, now we are successfully created the VPC. Okay, now we have created a VPC. The name is Blue School. We provide the IP 10.6, this 10 series and the 16 net mask. So we have 65,536 IP for the VPC. So Now what we'll do is creating a subnet. Our requirement is create two subnet, okay? Create two subnet, and we are going to make the first subnet as private, sorry, public. We are making this public and this private. Okay. So similar way, when we creating two subnet, we need to create two root table as well. Okay. Two root table. So now I am going to create subnet. See left side in our VPC dashboard, we can see the subnet. So choose the subnet. These are the existing subnet in my different VPC. All subnets are listed here, but see the under the VPC we can see which sub VPC it belongs to. So I'm creating one from scratch. Create subnet. When we creating a subnet, we need to specify the corresponding VPC. So here we can use a drop down menu and choose the VPC that we are going to deploy the subnet. So here we can see all the VPC are listed here. Okay. So our VPC is Guru School. So I'm choosing Guru School. And we need to provide the same thing like name and the IP address. So I'm creating here, given name like, yeah, I'm making this as public. Okay. Guru School public. And we need to provide the availability zone here. So I'm choosing any available zone. And here we need to provide the IP. This is the VP size IP, so it will be listed here, leave it. And here under IP before subnet CADR block, we need to provide the IP address for the specific subnet. Here we can choose the corresponding IP from the CADR, the subnet calculator, how many IP ranges we need to provide to the corresponding machine. So I am providing 10.0.0.0. We can like 24. 24 is fine. Yeah, see here we can see here 250 IPs.
So number of IPs,
Yes,
256
yes.
IPs we can create.
If I provide 16, you can see 65,536 IPs I am allocating to the GS public subnet. If I create this subnet, then I can't create another subnet within this VPC because the VPC doesn't have IP address. Got it?
Okay.
So here we need to provide the net mask as per our requirement. So in my case, I am providing, see here if for example, if we choose same 16 to the corresponding subnet, we allocate the entire IP to the corresponding subnet from the VPC. So we can't accomplish this subnet because this much IP only have the VPC. So all the IP is going to the subnet one. If we providing for 16 netmask 16. So how to provide the IPs from the VPC to the next subnet? There is no IP here. IP is 0. So accordingly, we need to manage the thing. So in my case, I am providing only 24. Okay. Like if I 25, then only 250 IP is there for the single subnet. See, 250 IP. And other things are okay. Coming to availability zone and the region, I will cover. Okay. Now you can leave. All of you. Create subnet. See, now GS public is created. GS public. This is GS public. Okay. So similar way, I'm quickly created another subnet for private. Create subnet, choosing the VPC. Again, GS pub private. And choosing any available zone here. And we need to change the IP for the machine. I mean, sorry, the subnet .0.1.0. I'm changing the IPC ranges, okay. 24. Yeah, same 250. I'm dividing 250 to the another subnet. Then create. See, both subnet are there. GS public and GS private. Both are under the VPC Guru School. So these two things done, right? GS private and GS public. Now what we will do? The next thing is creating root table, right? Two root
Right.
table we need to create for associating and configure the root rules. So I'm see here, the third one is root table. So click there and create root table from scratch. We need to provide a root table name. Most probably we need to identify the root table quickly when we are in here. So give the name like GS public. This is for GS public, okay. Then root table, I'm shorting like RT. So I can easily find these root table is associated with that subnet. So I'm choosing the name like that. And here we need to provide the VPC. I'm choosing Guru School. And we can quickly create root table. Okay. And the next thing is, now we created the root table, okay. Consider this is the root table we have created, okay. The next thing is we need to associate by with the corresponding subnet. By default, when we creating a root table, is doesn't associate with anything. Now we are going to associate this, okay, with the public subnet. So open the root table. I am now in the root table window, okay. I will show again. So this is the root table. So I'm choosing the root table, opening the root table dashboard. See here the subnet association. See, so click the subnet association. You can see here explicit subnet association, no subnet is associated. So I'm edit the subnet association. So this is where we edit the subnet association. So here we need to choose the corresponding subnet from the list. We are in this VPC Guru School. So under the Guru School VPC, what are subnet there? All subnet listed here. In our case, only two subnet, right? So which subnet I associate is public. So I am GS public is associated with the first root table. Okay. Now we can say this root table is associated with that subnet. Got it. Now this is done. Similar way, I'm going to associate the root table with private. Again, I'm going back root table. Guru School. I didn't create, right? I create a private. Guru School. Create root table. And now I am in the private Guru School private. So I'm going to Guru School, subnet association, edit subnet association, and choose the corresponding subnet, GS private. Save association. Okay, now it's associated with the private. So here we can say this is associated with this root table. So what are the rules that we define in the corresponding root table? It will automatically affect to the associated subnet. Got it? That's the point.
Okay.
Now everything is fine, but uh, still we can't say, because I mean the subnet is private or this is public or private, because we didn't configure the internet gateway.
Gateway.
Yeah. So what will you do? Going to the internet gateway. See, this is the internet gateway option. Here I have two internet gateway there. So I'm creating one more internet gateway. A short form IGW for Guru School. Just create. See, after we creating a internet gateway, there's a pop-up there like we need to attach the internet gateway to any specific VPC. So I'm going to attach. So here, drop down, you can see like Guru School, choose and attach internet gateway. Fine, it's done. Now our VPC have internet. This VPC have internet connection, but for this subnet and this subnet, so this is purely private, leave it that. For the public subnet, doesn't have internet connection. So how we provide the internet connection to the subnet? Simply we can go to the root table, right? Because we need to provide the rules in the root table, right? So I'm going to the public root table. See, here we can see the roots. The roots means these things goes to the corresponding subnet, like all the things we need to specify, okay? So there is a default rule there that is internal communication, a local route. From inside within the VPC, there is a local route there. So leave that thing. We need a external connection, right? I mean from an internal connection. So that we can say like our subnet is public. So what we'll do is just edit routes. First we need to go to the corresponding route table and edit rule. Here we can add route. We are creating a route to go in the traffic from the specified destination and the uh, source and the destination. Okay. So here we can choose the source. So who can access? This is we define who can access. Who are the one access our resources? So we need to provide 0.0.0.0/0. That is the internet code. Okay. So anyone from the internet can access. That is the code for 0.0.0. And the target, they are hitting to the internet gateway actually. We need to provide the internet gateway here. So there is an internet gateway. Yeah. See, whenever we click the internet gateway, it will automatically fetch here. Okay. Mm, yeah. See, internet gateway Guru School. So choose the internet gateway Guru School. And this is the destination. Who are the destination means anyone in the internet can access our what our internet gateway. Click save. Now we can say this subnet is public because in the root table we define anyone can access. I mean anyone are accessing this root table from outside the world. Okay, please point it to this internet gateway. Got it? That the rule we define the root table. So there is a connection between this through the root table to the subnet. For example, we are going to create a virtual machine and we need to provide the public IP for the virtual machine to access. And we can access the machine remotely using our laptop. Got it?
Yes, sir.
So how to make this machine, the subnet private? Not do anything, just to go to the root table and verify. That is, see, there is nothing, only internet connection. Here we can see the roots. For example, coming to see these are the subnet I have. So how to know these subnet are private or public? Just open the subnet and go to the root table. Here we can see the roots. See, I am choosing one subnet, that default subnet, but this default subnet is already connected to internet gateway. See, some other internet gateway. So we can say this subnet is public. Got it. So I'm choosing another one like subnet private. Okay. So go to the root table. See, this is not pointing to the internet gateway. It is pointing to NAT actually. So similar way, we can easily find subnet is belongs to private or public. Got it.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So these are the high level overview of creating a VPC. Now we can say we are creating a VPC with a name IP. We created two subnet, created two new root table, and associated root table with the subnet, and created an inter gateway and all the things. Tomorrow we will create a virtual machine and deploy an application and access the application remotely. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Then we can wind up, right? I think
Okay.
their time is too late. Anyone have any doubt?
Not from
May
my.
I know where these recordings are saved? How do we access?
I will record all the recordings. Whenever I will get a free time, I will upload the to to our Guru School YouTube channel. Then I will share. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, if
I
we
missed.
have to go through it again for like,
Yes. I missed the yesterday recording to share with the concerned person. I will update that.
oh, I'll practice today in case if I get a doubt or like if I'm stuck somewhere, so I need something.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
maybe you can provide the previous recordings with other batch or
Yes.
like maybe
That's
something might have been uploaded already, right? For this
yes.
particular
Okay.
session.
Okay. Say similar way, I will give one homework for creating a VPC. Okay. I will post a requirement in the group.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, if we are stuck somewhere, can we approach?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
That's the group is for the discussion actually. You can ping in
Okay.
the group or you can directly ping me, no problem. All of you.
Thank you.
And everything is fine, right? I'm all.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it's interesting. The way you explain it's really good.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Then we can wind up, right?
Yes, sir.
Sure.
Okay, bye
Thank
then.
you.
We'll see.
Thank
Have a
you.
good
Have a good day.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Bye.
Have a good day. Bye.